Je suis Prisca. J'ai été élue Dauphine de France à l'élection des éco-modèles, modèle sous-marin. J'habite à Paris. J'ai vécu 7 ans en Afrique, dans différents pays. Pour moi, la mer Rouge, c'est surtout mer d'Afrique.
For Europeans, the Red Sea is the closest of the tropical waters, a diver's paradise. The tiny coral polyps have created true marvels of nature, enchanted mountains and towers that play host to an extraordinary collection of plants and animals. In no other part of the ocean is the relationship between marine creatures and their habitat so perfectly developed. Near the outer edge of the reef, the big shoals of fusilier fish, pursued by jackfish, are like swarms of birds in an underwater sky. Fish that live together in shoals tie their survival to the laws of probability. In this ballet of shadows, the dancers risk their lives with every pirouette. In the luminous, clear waters of the shallows, millions and millions of coral polyps make their contribution to the slow growth of the reef. The coral reefs are host to an immense population of marine life. All this bustling action reveals a social life no less complex than that which reigns in the surface world. The fish that live in the waters around the coral are among the most amazing inhabitants of the sea. Their designs and colors are signals that serve to attract the sexes, to discourage romantic rivals, to keep away other species, or perhaps simply to indicate that a particular spot is taken. Certain fish have shapes well adapted for swimming through the reef. Butterfly fish, round and flat, can make instant U-turns in any direction. For them, maneuverability is a question of life or death. The grouper isn't interested in how big the sea may be. Its world is a particular stretch of territory near the wreck, or else the hollow it has chosen as a refuge. The tropical seas teem with life, but actually these warm, transparent waters are nutritionally poor. Marine life is concentrated in the well-defined habitats around the coral formations. The secret of this rich and complex environment lies in the coral itself. Organisms capable of extracting calcium from seawater to build their homes. After millions of years building one on top of another, they create reefs and sometimes even whole islands. Today, coral reefs cover a surface area 20 times the size of Europe. There are 2,500 different species of coral. Some are hard, others are soft and wave gently with the movements of the sea. 2,350 kilometers in length, the Red Sea is like a long canal that unites the Mediterranean Sea with the Indian Ocean. The coral is the principal food source for a large part of the fish that live around the reef. Of all the inhabitants of the barrier reef, the parrotfish are the only ones capable of biting off chunks of hard coral. As if munching coral biscuits, the sound of the parrotfish's unmistakable crunching spreads through the water. The parrotfish leave their mark on the reef. At times, the pulverized remains produce such an abundance of coral sand as to actually modify the appearance of the sea floor. The underwater world of the coral reef existed millions of years before man ever discovered it. Now, its natural balance is endangered. Divers have given themselves rules, for example, not wearing fins that are too long so as not to damage the delicate coral branches, and not giving food to the fish. But fish don't forget a favor. And sometimes it's difficult to say whether the big Napoleon moves in hoping for a tasty titbit or because it simply wants to make friends with the diver. The Napoleon fish is the object of intensive fishing, to the point that this peaceful ambassador of the world beneath the waves is considered by marine scientists to be among the species on the brink of extinction. The finless body of the moray eel is ideal for slithering into the openings in the rock. Despite its menacing appearance, the moray eel doesn't represent a threat. The stinging chemicals released by the sea anemones and by certain corals are the real dangers for a swimmer. In the coral sea, fantastic shapes and gaudy colors often hide insidious perils. The lionfish has a whole assortment of chemical weapons at its disposal, but actually, the defense systems of marine animals are not always put to use. Rather than fight, they often prefer to avoid combat. Side by side, in perfect formation, the young barracuda slowly patrol in the open waters. The natural defenses of the inhabitants of the ocean hold no danger for divers who know how to approach with due respect a world more ancient than theirs.